Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and this week we have a lot to talk about with all new iPad Airs announced, iPad, as well as iOS 19 delays, iPhone 17, and much more. This is your weekly Apple News update for the week of March 4th, 2025. Now, yesterday, Tim Cook announced that this week there would be something in the air, and today they announced new iPad Air, as well as an updated iPad. Now, this was a bit unexpected. Many of us expected basically a MacBook Air, but I thought we'd go over the new iPad announcement quickly and then talk about some things we can expect very soon. The first thing to note is with the latest iPad Air models, they're exactly the same as far as the look, and even the wallpaper is the same for some reason. So we have an 11-inch and 13-inch iPad Air with basically the exact same design. It starts at $599, goes up to $1299 for the 13-inch, and has 128, 256, 512, and 1 terabyte options. Instead of having the M2, we now have the M3. So we have the M3 chipset, which adds ProRes encode and decode engines, as well as AV1. Other than that, the 11-inch iPad Air is 0.01 pounds or 2 grams lighter, and everything else is the same. So all of the external displays, the camera, the back, the look, the Apple Pencil Pro support, everything is identical. So no changes there, but they did announce a new Magic Keyboard. So the new Magic Keyboard is pretty nice. It's basically what we have with the iPad Pro with a function key, but instead of being metal, it's still got that sort of plasticky, rubbery feel to it. So that was announced along with it. It's rubberized on the outside as well, and then also has a USB-C pass-through. Of course, I'll get my hands on one, and we'll take a closer look once it's available. But it has the same 10-hour battery life, and the other thing they announced, which was a bit odd, you'll see their press release here. They didn't even bother to change the wallpaper, and in their press release, they announced the new iPad. Not the iPad 11th gen, just the new iPad A16. It's $349 to $649, now has double the storage, 128, 256, and 512, and has the A16 chipset. The big surprise here is no Apple Intelligence. So for whatever reason, they decided not to include that. We also had the announcement of some new spring cases. So we have 4 new colors for the spring iPhone lineup for the iPhone 16, 16 Plus, 16 Pro, and 16 Pro Max. So not a huge announcement, and we could expect some other announcements this week. We'll talk about that in a moment. Now, Apple this week, yesterday, also announced the inclusion of Friday Night Baseball and Apple TV Plus again, starting on March 28th. So you'll see that here. And if we go to the TV app, you can see more information about it there. We'll go into TV, give it just a second to load here. And if we scroll down, once we get to sports, there's a whole section for Friday Night Baseball. So that's again happening this year, and it will be available. Also, another thing worth noting is the new purchase migration tool, which was recently introduced to help you move purchases from one account to another, is now working in the EU and the UK, it seems. So I'll leave a link to this in the description, and you'll see it says this feature isn't available to users in India just yet, but it looks like other areas are now able to use it, and you can migrate your purchases from one account to another. Once in a while, an original Apple One goes up for sale and usually brings in a ton of money. There's a new Apple One for sale at RR Auctions, along with many other prototypes. So you can see those here, and I'll link them in the description, but Apple Lisa 2 prototype with mouse. You'll see others here, Apple Macintosh 128K prototype, and many others that are listed. So if you're interested in this, or you just want to take a look at the Apple Macintosh Portable Clear Case EVT prototype, currently going for $7,300, they estimate $50,000. So lots of things are up for auction right now. Again, I'll link this in the description if you want to check it out. Now, for years, we've had FaceTime and Zoom and all of these different applications, but one of the major ones was Skype, and it looks like it's going to shut down. So Skype is shutting down after 14 years, and it looks like it's all over May 5th. So this is according to Bloomburg, and it looks like Skype is no more. So it looks like it was a huge missed opportunity from Microsoft, but unfortunately, it's not available anymore after May. Now, if you're someone that uses Google Gemini, they've recently updated it so that we now have lock screen widgets. So if you haven't been using Siri, maybe you wanted to use something a little bit more advanced, we can go in here, add widgets, and if we scroll down, you'll now see Gemini. So we have different widgets for this, where we have Talk Live, Open Mic, Use Camera, Share Image, Share File, and that's it. So if you want to use any of those to maybe talk live, you can do that, and it'll be now available right on the lock screen if you want to utilize that. So again, we'll hit done, go in, then you can tap on that and it'll bring you right into Gemini. So that's something that's available now if you're using Google Gemini. Now with Google Gemini and ChatGPT, Amazon announced Alexa Plus. So you'll see Meet the New Alexa free with Prime, and Alexa is coming soon, or Alexa Plus is coming soon. So that's something that they introduced the other day, and we're seeing more and more companies implement things such as Copilot on Mac from Microsoft and lots of different AI. So Apple really needs to hurry it up on the iPhone side to get that implemented with Siri. Apple this week has a new lawsuit against them, accusing them of misleading consumers with carbon neutral claims, according to Reuters. In a complaint filed on Wednesday in San Jose, California federal court, 7 purchasers of the green-tagged Apple Watch Series 9, SE, and Ultra 2 said they would not have bought their watches or would have paid less had they known the truth. The claim is that Apple bought carbon offsets instead of the products being truly carbon neutral. So we'll have to see what happens with this, but again, it was on Reuters, and I'll link that in the description. Another new app that launched this week was Adobe Photoshop on the iPhone. It's a free version you can try out, utilize it yourself if you want to do that, and of course, just use it however you would use Photoshop, but just on the iPhone, so it's available now. And speaking of the App Store, it seems at least one person at Apple was against collecting the 27% fee from developers for the apps they sold. Phil Schiller recently testified in court due to the Epic Games legal ongoings and had said that I had great concerns about the collection of funds from developers. He's specifically worried about the change in the role of the App Store to now an organization that needs to collect money from developers. So it's great to see that there's more going on that we just don't know about behind the scenes. When it comes to weekly Apple deals, well, this week we have iPad deals since Apple's introducing the new iPad Air. Last generation M2 iPad Airs are on sale, along with MacBooks, AirPods, and much more. Just like every week, I'll link it in the description below so you can check out the latest deals. When it comes to releases, well, yesterday we had iOS 18.4 Beta 2. Today we could see iOS 18.4 Public Beta 2. However, many people are wondering if we're going to get an iOS 18.3.2, since we currently only have iOS 18.3.1 as far as an upgrade or downgrade. Typically, we'll have a couple different signed versions, and since iOS 18.3 is no longer signed, it seems likely that we could have that within a week or two. Also, Apple's working on iOS 18.5, and Mark Gurman again reiterated this weekend that features that will help improve Siri and Apple Intelligence were originally planned for iOS 18.4, but they've since been pushed back to 18.5 as the software isn't ready yet and seems to be quite buggy. So this is not unexpected at this point. We've seen a lot of delays because of Apple Intelligence, and it seems like it's going to be delayed even more. And this is now carrying across to iOS 19. Apple's been working on a more conversational version of Siri, similar to Google Gemini Live or ChatGPT's chatbot, which could have come with iOS 19 or 19.4 or later. However, the other day, Mark Gurman said Apple is no longer planning to reveal the Siri chatbot at WWDC 2025 in June. Gurman now believes that the Siri chat version won't be ready until 2027 or iOS 20. So now we're going to see this pushed way out while we have different chatbots such as Gemini, ChatGPT, we've got Alexa Plus, and others from Microsoft and more. So it's a little bit of a disappointment to see that pushed out so far. We also know so little about what to expect with iOS 19 that it has me thinking that it's some sort of major design change or just a refinement version to allow Apple to catch up and fix all the bugs. We do know that it looks like maybe the camera app will get some sort of redesign. We've seen some changes with the Apple Invite app where we could have some sort of new interface overall, and that's something we could see entirely very soon. However, at this point, we're not really sure, as there's been very few leaks about it. So maybe we'll get a bit of a surprise, or maybe we'll just have a refinement year and Apple will lock things down. Now that we have the iPhone 16e, we're looking at the iPhone 17. We keep seeing more and more of what the upcoming iPhone 17 lineup will have to offer, and we know at this point it'll have a new design for most models except the iPhone 17 base model, and we keep seeing consistent designs like the recent CAD drawings released by Sonny Dixon that line up with what John Prosser and many others have shown. iPhone 17, like I mentioned, will look similar to what we have with the iPhone 16, but all the other models will look completely different, with the iPhone 16 Plus being replaced with an iPhone 17 Air or Slim model, and the iPhone 17 Pro and 17 Pro Max are said to have an all-new camera tray design. Apple also is said to be using a new in-house modem, just like they did with the iPhone 16e, so the C1 or maybe even a C2, and Apple also will have its own Wi-Fi chipset. So they're going to have some big efficiency improvements in the next phones. We also have a recent claim from analyst Jeff Poo, who said that the iPhone 17 Pro models could have 12 gigabytes of RAM. So this would be great. It would help out with Apple Intelligence more. And then Apple is also said to be making a bigger push than normal with the iPhone 17 Pro video capabilities. So this year we gained 4K 120, but now we could have maybe more features, maybe better lenses or some change there. Of course, Apple is still working on a folding phone, and this week we heard a little bit more about that. They're expected to release it sometime next year. But the most recent information from ET News is that the upcoming foldable has solved the issue of the crease, and when unfolded has no evidence of a folder crease at all. This would be huge news, as many people really don't like the folder crease in many of the folding phones, and if they solve this, that would be a huge step forward. Now, I think this week has been a bit of a surprise. So far this week, we've had iOS 18.4 Beta 2, and then, of course, Apple just introduced the new iPad Air and iPad models. However, we thought we'd have the MacBook Air first. This was really expected, according to Mark Gurman, to launch before the iPad Air, and we do expect an M4 iPad Air very soon. Maybe as soon as tomorrow, maybe later in the week, or maybe not at all. But at this point, it needs to be updated, and then we might also get the option for a 13 and 15-inch option with a nano texture display. So I really don't expect much of a change. This is a great machine for editing, for utilizing regular computing, or just using day-to-day. Unless you're doing incredibly heavy tasks or want a 120 Hz display, well, the MacBook Air is a great device. So either way, we could see this updated as soon as this week. And as I mentioned earlier, the new iPad Airs are basically the same. We don't have 120 Hz ProMotion, so that may be a disappointment or maybe a reason to go to the Pro versions. Other than that, though, lots of announcements this week, lots expected still, and of course, I'll let you know if we have some new updates and more. I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do, and if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.